Just about 7 months ago, I learned how to solve the Rubik's Cube, which is one of the most well-known puzzles around the world. And since then, there's one major thing I haven't done in taking that step to get better, and that's going to a competition. So just recently, I went to my first ever competition, and I'd love to share it with you guys. So welcome to my video on Ocean State Cubikon 2025. I had 3 main goals going into this competition. My first goal was to get one sub-20 second 3x3 single. My second was to make it to 3x3 round 2. And my third was to get one sub-115 4x4 single. The first part of our morning was breakfast, but real quick, I'd like to point out my dad, who I'm super thankful for all he did today, and I got to spend the day with him. But we stopped at Wendy's for breakfast, and I got some vitamin water, a sausage, egg, and cheese, and some potatoes. As we arrived at the competition, I got a first look at the venue, which was at the South Kingston Elks Club, and this is when nerves started to set in. Seeing all these people made me understand just how wide the cubing community was, and just showed me how much competition I was going to have for the day. As 3x3 round 1 began, I was so nervous I forgot to record Solve 1, but Solve 2 was a little shaky. I was very nervous still, and I was actually visibly shaking. This actually ended up being one of my worst solves. I did the wrong PLL and ended with a +2, making this solve a 27.84. Solve 3 started out well with a quick cross to F2L transition and a pretty quick F2L for being how nervous I was. My last layer got a little locky, but ended up turning out pretty well, and I ended up with an 18, which I was very happy with because it completed my first goal. Despite having one of my fastest cross solutions of the day, Solve 4 ended up being my slowest solve of the day. I had a pretty quick transition and flow throughout the entire solve, but one wrong turn in PLL caused my entire solve to go down the drain, and I ended with a 33, which was not very pleasing. Solve 5 being the last solve of 3x3 round 1, I knew would determine whether or not I made it to the next round, which being one of my goals, I was really hoping I would make it. So I tried my best on this solve, but it ended out a little rocky. However, I was very pleased in the end with my last layer turning out pretty quickly, but the solve wasn't overall too great, but I averaged out enough to get into round 2. We ended up leaving a little early to go to lunch at the University of Rhode Island so we could visit my sister, and we had a nice surprise visit from our friend Ryan also. During our break, me and Dad also played a round of disc golf at Curtis Corner. In 3x3 round 2, I immediately completed my second goal of making it to round 2, which I started out pretty quickly, with my first solve ending out pretty well. I had a little bit of a shaky OLL and forgot my PLL again and did the wrong one, but I ended up with a 21, which I was very happy with. By solve 2, I knew that my only goal left for 3x3 was to get the fastest newcomer award. My only challenger was this guy, Owen, who I don't even know what he looks like or who he is, but he became my new rival. And this solve ended with an 18, which I was very happy with, but I knew that in the next 3 solves, I had to do my absolute best to get that award. Solve 3 started out pretty well with a fast cross, but a little bit of a slow transition from cross to F2L. However, once F2L was completed, I had a quick execution of my last layer. It was a little bit locky, but I'm going to blame that on the nerves. I ended with a 24, which wasn't bad, but I knew that it wasn't going to cut it. Solve 4 was probably the most average solve I had in this competition. I don't have much to say about it. It was pretty fast for how I had been doing. I ended with a 21. Going into Solve 5, I knew that I need to be as quick as I could if I wanted to finish off strong and get that Newcomer's Award. However, it didn't end up being a great solve for me and was actually my slowest of round 2. My last layer execution wasn't great, and I ended with a 26, which I didn't know at the time, but ended up being too slow because Owen ended up beating me by just about 0.8 seconds. Going into 4x4 round 1, I only had one goal, which was to get a sub 115 solve. While this seems like kind of an odd time, it was actually because I needed to get that to finish the round. I had 2 chances to get a 115 single, and this first one started out looking pretty promising because I started out with a pretty quick white and yellow center, and obviously I'm still not amazing at 4x4, but it is my favorite event, so I cared a lot about this, and I ended with a little bit of a slow last layer, and I ended up super close to my goal with a 119. So I knew that this Solve 2 had to be perfect for me to get the rest of my solves in.
I locked up on clarity and then I couldn't recover. PB? I don't want to say 120 in comp, it's 158. Yeah, it's because I only did it once in the
As I came into the final steps of my solve, I knew that this last layer was going to have to carry me, but I did get OLL parity, which I still stink at, so if anyone can help me get better at that, I would love to hear it in the comments. But this ended up being my downfall, because I ended this solve with a 117, just 2 seconds from where I needed to be. As we drove home, I thought about how much fun I had today and began to understand that my results don't matter that much as long as I'm enjoying the moment and enjoying being where I am and doing what I'm doing. And that's the beauty of cubing, because as a community we can come together and enjoy one thing that seems so simple but just means so much more to us. So I want to say thank you to all of you for watching this video, and I appreciate all your support. And thank you to my dad too.